What's good, everybody? Welcome to Buckeye BS. I was about to cough. Welcome to Buckeye BS on the Best Damn Media Network. What's going on, fellas?
What's
What up,
going
what
on? What's
up?
going on?
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day weekend, obviously, and hard to go out to all the vets who've done what they needed to do and keep us safe. All that good stuff. Let's not forget it. But just wanted to ask how y'all weekend was going. Anything good? It's a 3-day weekend. We haven't had one on the show
Yeah,
yet.
man.
So
I went to a crawfish boil yesterday, man. Took the kids over there. It was just a good time playing bago and everything, man. Just enjoying great times with great friends, man.
That's what's up.
I'd just like to correct Q. I work for a glorious company that is so gracious to give us off a Friday and the federal holiday. So it is a 4-day weekend for your boy Ron over here and all federal holidays. And like you said, thank you to all those people that, you know what I mean, gave the greatest sacrifice for this country. And we appreciate you on this day. How about you, Cam? How's your weekend going?
Weekend's great, Indy 500. Gonna be linking up with the Mad Hatter today. Wish me luck. We're gonna be getting a lot of live in person, so let's get the show started.
Make sure you get those on record too.
Yeah, I got you.
Mad Hatter.
Have any of y'all boys done the Indy 500 before? Cam, is this your first one?
Chris, yeah, me. I would be. It's my first one. I mean, Chris Drew out here, Mad Hatter out here. So I should get the camera out today, bro. It's gonna be one of them ones.
The Indy 500 is one of the most underrated sporting events you can attend. So if you have an opportunity, make sure you take advantage of that. It is a great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to play the link up next year because I feel left out.
Yeah,
Ron been already. Your Mike is Mike. So
EDM concert in the Snake Pit, all that.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I was jumping to it. It was good to see. It was good to see y'all in the chat. So yeah, there's a couple of stuff we wanted to talk about today. We're gonna rank the staff, so that should be fun. But I'm gonna jump into some stuff before that. So first, let's talk about this Kevin Warren debacle, obviously. So Big Ten lost a lot of money.
Oh, I thought you was talking about that fit he had on the other day. Or that was Gene in the bad fit.
That was Gene. Gene looked like he was going to Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, he was chilling. He was chilling
Appreciate
with
you,
Steel. Chilling with Steel too much. But yeah, man. So the Big Ten obviously lost a lot of money, and this is just an overall reflection on Kevin Warren's obviously job as Big Ten commissioner. But this now affects all the schools at Big Ten, including our school, and how much money we're gonna make per year. Just want to get overall thoughts. I'll start with Mike. Is this just like, man, here's another one, or is it like it's water under the bridge?
No, I mean, here's another one. I mean, I think it's crazy that athletic directors and presidents from Big Ten schools trusted Kevin Warren. I mean, we couldn't even trust him when he said that it was a vote. People were actually going to sue the Big Ten. This was back in 2020, and we knew he was lying. I mean, Big Ten lawyers said if this goes to court, the Big Ten's in trouble. So how could you trust this man who's a known liar, talking about 2020 wasn't safe, but it was allowing his son to play? Like, this is just this is just terrible. I feel like this, sets my people back on a commissioner because this is a terrible example, bro. I mean,
I don't
literally.
I wouldn't go that far, Mike. I mean, it was a bad decision for the Big Ten, but apparently, Mike thinks it set black people back.
Right, if you think that nobody's going to think about this, the next time they hire, you're crazy to me.
We going back to Jim Crow for hiring.
Oh, man.
We gave one a chance. Never again.
And he effed up.
Go ahead, Ron.
No, Cam said in the chat earlier he thinks that the Big Ten might have worked to resolve this, but I believe the initial reports were something like a $40 million loss if they were to try to switch this up. So, I mean, a loss of that magnitude is just unacceptable, especially if you're supposed to be the leadership of the conference, and especially when, a lot of the talk when we talk about Big Ten commissioner and the conference as a whole moving forward, it's from a financial perspective and what is best for us financially. So to fumble a potential bag like that, that would have been horrible. And you know what I mean? He already has a checkered past as far as, the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and, what I mean, the whole 2020 season. So you think as he's on his way out the door, he would have, a little bit more of a rosy memory having signed this massive deal, but then you find out, nope, still found a way to fuck that up too. So, that's disappointing that he couldn't sneak out the door without a little smear on his resume. But Cam, you want to clean it up for us and let us know how the Big Ten resolved this issue? If you have any background on that.
I don't have any like concrete evidence or anything like that, but I just saw from a couple of accredited accounts on Twitter that apparently the commissioner figured out a loophole or got a deal done with NBC regarding their primetime games, like what they want to do. They got Michigan State to move their game to Ford Field, and they're going to be playing primetime November. We're going to be playing Michigan State in November. So basically, like the root of the issue was they wanted Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State to play November night games. And I guess all three of the institutions said, hell no. But Penn State and Ohio State came around and was like, all right, we'll do it. And, well, the other guys.
So you're telling me only Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan State were, finally came around and was like, hey, we'll do this?
Well, like they wanted to. Well, they're the biggest draw, right? So, I mean, as far as viewership goes in the Big Ten, I'm pretty sure it's Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State. And they were wanting to say, like, hey, like, what is the value in our deal if we can't get these 4 schools to play November primetime games, right? So that was like what the basis of the argument was. But like when you talk about expansion and things like that, that's why they want to expand to the East Coast so NBC can have more primetime games and Big Noon kickoff can have basically all the good matchups. So if they get a Florida State, if they get a Clemson or somebody like that, it's like, okay, you can have Michigan, Penn State on a Big Noon kickoff. We'll still be able to get a Florida State, Michigan State, or we'll still be able to get a Clemson, Notre Dame, or something like that. So that's why they're working diligently to expand the Big Ten for that reason. And the NBC's interested in the East Coast. So
shout out to the 3 out of the 4 schools that's holding it down.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. And actually, well, first off, yeah, I'm with y'all on that as usual. Man, we need that money. We need some new facilities, man. I'm seeing Penn State put up a new tunnel. I haven't seen much else, but I've been on this complaint. But schools across the country have been putting up new facilities. So anytime we lose money, I'm like, come on, man. I need a new shoe. I need a new Woody.
As the person that lives in Columbus, I'm gonna tell you right now,
Cap.
They are probably gonna build another massive hospital or something like that before we ever get a new Woody. So
you live in Columbus?
Yeah.
I figured that. It's just
I'll be out here dropping the Addies now.
But yeah, Kev, you touched on something that I actually want to talk about next, right? So this whole thing is money, and obviously expansion is involved. And I don't think we've talked about this, but we're at what, 16 now? So if we were to go to 20, which teams would you want to add? So that gives you 4 teams to add. Ron, I will start with you. Take a second if you need to. Which 4 teams would you add to get the most value out of the Big Ten and obviously expand our recruiting prowess and all that?
I would take Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and Duke. I want the academic prowess of Duke. I want the best rivalry in football. I want the best rivalry in basketball. And if you bring that to the Big Ten, I think those would be my favorite 4 to see join the Big Ten. I feel like bringing in the academics of Duke and having the Duke-UNC rivalry on the basketball side would be great for the conference, as well as adding powers like Clemson and Florida State would do great things for football. So if I could have 4, those would be my selfish 4.
Okay, so you're thinking multi-sport. Mike, I'll go with you next. Who would be your 4?
Man, football is king when you're talking about revenue. And I would want to bring in, like he said, a Florida State. who else is building over there on that side, man? The North Carolina. But the thing about North Carolina, if we bring North Carolina, we got to bring Duke. So, and I'm also factor in the way the Big Ten likes to do with the TV revenue, because obviously, you know, Rutgers, Maryland wasn't prestigious in football, right? Yeah. But they went and got that for the TV revenue market. So when you're talking about that, let's go ahead and add a Georgia Tech so we can get that market as well. So we got the Florida market. Now we got the Georgia market. Let me go ahead and get a Texas school like a TCU or a Baylor. You know, I honestly believe the Big Ten needs that. And golly, the fourth one is a tough one, man. I mean, Miami fans been talking a lot of stuff about, you know, they could win the Big Ten conference. So let's just go ahead and bring them up, even though they never won the ACC. So
20 years in a conference, they ain't won that, but they're going to come to a new one and win.
I mean, I would just love to humble them and show them it's actually harder than the conference you've been playing in. But
yeah, go ahead, Cam.
My 4. Spiritually, I don't like them, don't want them. But financially, I think that priority number 1 is getting Notre Dame to join. It would be Notre Dame, and Clemson would be my number 2, because we don't really have a second in-conference rival on it, like if you think about it. And I feel like Clemson is our number 2 ops at Ohio State, hands down. So I would want Clemson. And then for my other 2, it's really a toss-up between Florida State, Miami, or like a Oregon and Washington. You know what I mean? It's like, as far as like market-wise, like what we want to do, like Florida State, and Miami would be great, but Oregon is the better football program and a bigger brand. But they don't bring that market that they want, I guess. Like the PNW is not as valued as Florida, so I don't know. I think I would go with Florida State and then Miami for my number 2 for my last 4. So Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, Miami.
All right, y'all had a lot of good ideas. When I was thinking of this, I'm like, damn, there's probably really 6 I would want to pull in, but if I had to limit 4, well, Notre Dame can fuck off because they've had plenty of opportunities to jump in, and they've just bullshitted. So I'm not gonna count them, even though that would probably be best. So I'm looking at, give me Florida State and Miami. That right there, we get into Florida, we get that recruiting area, we get obviously the viewership. If they ain't out partying, we could bring them in. I think it would do wonders for the Big Ten and obviously allow a lot of teams to recruit there. Still one from Mike. Give me Georgia Tech. Having that Georgia school, it opens up a lot of kids obviously start come up here versus just the 1 or 2 Ohio State may get every now and then. So I think that would be massive. And then give me TCU. It put us right in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A lot of talent out there. So this is strictly based off of open up recruiting and teams that are either pretty decent or should be at least decent with the area they're recruiting in. So counting out Oregon and Notre Dame, those would be if they had 6, I would grab those other 2. But I don't think those would help us as much. Well, Notre Dame would, but the other ones would put us well on a pedestal as far as recruiting goes.
What do you think about adding like an elite program from the PSAC, like Slippery Rock?
Yeah, obviously, give us Slippery Rock in there, then we'll take Notre Dame, and we've took over the North completely.
I feel like if we're gonna get a school from the PSAC, you should get the one that produces the most NFL talent by far. So I think you should go with Cal U. So let's do that.
These guys. We're good on the Pennsylvania market. We're good.
Tell Penn State fucking line it up with Slippery Rock. See what happens. Battle for the state.
We got these mid majors like Penn State in here. We ain't got Slippery Rock. Come on, man. Oh man. But yeah, failing off of that. I just wanted to ask your ideas, but let's jump into this ranking coaches. So I will pass over to Ron, go to introduce it, and let's get into it.
So for today's show, we are going to rank the assistant coaches on staff for Ryan Day's staff right now. And we're going to go through each coach on staff that fills one of the 10 assistant roles. And we are going to rank them 1 to 10. And we're also, before we get started, we're going to grade Ryan Day's staff as a whole real quick. So if you guys had to give Ryan Day's current staff a letter grade, what would you boys give it? Start with you, Cam.
If I had to grade staff, I mean, right now I'd have to do like a B minus because Jim Knowles is kind of in limbo with me because it's like I knew that he was dealing with absolutely garbo niggas last year in the secondary, and I know I could see the vision when he was calling plays. It's like, oh, like these niggas can't stop this blitz, but then like Cam Brown's going to give up an 80-yard touchdown. So I'll say like a B minus. I think that we didn't really get a real look of what we were capable of as far as coaching last year due to players not just being good enough.
So a little follow-up question, and Mike and Q, you both can answer this as well. What do you think the required grade is for a staff at Ohio State? What do you think it should be if we're competing at a national championship level? The bare minimum, what does the standard need to be?
A or A plus?
Yeah, I would say B plus, A minus. It's kind of hard to have an A staff just because it should be expected at Ohio State, but it's the fact that coaches get pulled so quickly that sometimes it's like Jeff Hafley in and then he's out, and it's like, well, damn, we got one, but we couldn't keep him here at least 2 years to be prepared for him to leave. So, but I think it's probably B plus, A minus. But since I'm already talking, I'll say my grade for the current staff, I would put it a B minus. I'm right with Cam. Not too much I would change. Obviously, coaches need to level up and perform better, but I can see this staff. If I looked at this staff and like, how many changes would I really make? Maybe one, to be honest. And I can talk about that later. But
yeah. So me, the way I'm gonna look at it is like, how's the staff? You know, how would I grade the staff on the offensive side, right? And then how would I grade the staff on the defensive side? Is how I kind of went about this. So, like, if I'm going to grade our offensive staff, man, I honestly, like, I have to give them an A, right? But if I'm going to grade our defensive staff and just what they've done on the field, what they have done in recruiting, I have to probably go with, like, maybe a C plus or a B minus. So I think that overall grade it'll bring me to a B to a B plus, right? It's how I look at it as. And you know, I know all the talks about, you know, Jim Knowles, but like Cam was saying, you know, he was calling some good plays. We just did not have the guys who could actually execute it to a high level, right? And I think his biggest issue and the reason why he didn't know that those guys could execute the way he wanted to, because he's just like, oh, I'm at Ohio State. All these players should be better than Oklahoma State, right? But actually, there were some guys that should have been actually playing at Oklahoma State. So he didn't – his issue was not going back and looking at the previous film, because I understand why he didn't want to do it. But if he did that, he would have understood what these guys can and can't do. So, you know, the whole staff as a whole, B plus.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I'm at a B minus for this staff, and it's mainly because, as we'll get into it as we start talking about some of these coaches, I feel like we're all over the board as far as what some people do well and what some people are struggling with. We have some guys that are performing on the field, and we know that they're great in their room with their guys with the development, and then they're missing on the recruiting trail. Or sometimes, you know what I mean, we're great on the recruiting trail, but we're not seeing as much performance. So I think we'll start with, I think it's probably going to be the consensus number one for everyone. Does anyone have someone different than Brian Hartline as their number one coach on the support staff right now?
Quick question. Are we not ranking Ryan Day?
No, we're going to go with the 10 assistants.
Yeah, because I had put Day number one.
Yeah, I put Day number one. What I did, Day was number one. So, I mean,
Well, after that, yeah, I will say Hartline. Obviously, he's doing it on the field. He's doing it on the recruiting trail. Um, I don't think we can really ask too much more. I mean, I think his wide receivers can get better at a little bit. Maybe the one criticism I could have for Hartline is just making sure we have that dynamic player that kind of adds a mix and it's more of a I know we run an NFL style, but it's more of like a college role of having just that shifty, maybe used to play running back or some just playmaker who can just catch a slant and just make a few guys miss and be out. I feel like we haven't seen very much of that since he's been around, but that may be the only criticism.
What about you, Cam?
I'm gonna go with
number one.
I'm gonna go with. I mean, you got to go to Heartland, obviously, but at the same time, it's like he's the OC now, so his evaluation is going to be changing because his role has changed. So,
I mean, Mike, you seem to be in agreement with that. Do you think just wide receiver recruiting will be able to carry Brian Hartline at the top of the food chain for our assistant coaches, or is there something that you need to see out of Hartline this year as the offensive coordinator for him to remain in that spot?
Yeah, for him to remain in that spot, what I need to see is rotation of the wide receivers, as we saw. We thought like we was watching in the headlight. Emeka looked slow. Like these guys had dead legs and everything. I want to see him rotating. And, like Q said, having those guys in space, I believe we had them, right? But we did not rotate them and allow them to get on the field. So, and now they end up transferring out, like a Mookie Cooper. I think he was one of those guys, but he ended up transferring out because we didn't rotate him.
Brown followed him.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's what ends up happening. So that's where I want to see him grow, is rotating these players, because also what that does, what people don't realize, like our wide receivers, all of them were first-year starters, and they didn't really get much clock. Like Marv didn't get much clock until the Rose Bowl, right? But he should have got way more clock in all them blowout games that we had.
So staying on the offensive side of the ball, the next coach that we're going to talk about is Josh Fry. Where do you have him ranked with the position coaches? Let's start with you, Q.
Yeah, Justin Fry. For me,
Justin Fry. My bad.
I think you said.
I said Josh Fry or Justin Fry. Every time.
hey, Josh Fry gets the A. Give me some feedback on the chat. I would put him 3 right now. I think obviously he came in and did probably just as good of a job as you can do, but I think he was also gifted a returning kind of. We already knew he was going to have 2 good tackles. I think that was a given.
Did we know that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that. I mean,
was DeJuan Jones really
going to be bad in anyone's eyes if he was?
Did you think DeJuan was performing before he got there?
I thought DeJuan played inconsistent, but at times he played at a high level, and I thought he was going to be more consistent last year. Obviously, building on what he did the year before, so I wasn't going to be like, "Oh, it's going to be a train wreck at right tackle."
You have to think about it. DeJuan did push Thayer inside. They felt such a need to get him on the field that they moved our starting left tackle for 2 years to guard. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of knew he was going to be what he was.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of knew who the O-line was going to be last season, or at least I did for the most part coming in. So, but I think he did a solid job with it. Now, let's see. Now he's been given a terrible deck of cards to kind of work with and kind of reshift his offensive line. So, right now, I mean, for me, he's probably 3rd on this list, but he's really pushing it. It's kind of a toss-up between him and Alfred, but I've seen more for Alfred, so that's where I would have him.
So you have him at 3?
Yeah, I have him at 3 on mine.
What about you, Cam?
I'd say 3. 3 is a good spot for him. Like you said, I think I got Tony Alford above him just because it's pretty much been plug and play down the roster at running back last year, so everybody was prepared. So I got him at 3. 3 is good. 3 is a good spot.
And how about you, Mike?
Yeah, I got Justin Fry at 4 of all the position groups. Yeah, he's going to be behind Tony Alford. But what Fry did, one thing that we know, our offensive line recruiting fell off under Stud, and also development as well, because Stud had some medical issues and sometimes wasn't always able to be in the Woody. But what Justin Fry was able to do with the talent, I mean, to be honest, to sit here and say that we knew Paris Johnson was going to be Paris Johnson, we didn't, because I watched Paris Johnson get cooked all in the spring game. And he even acknowledged how he had to, put in a lot of work outside of practice and everything to get better. So what he was able to do with Paris Johnson only starting 1 year at offensive tackle, I think was amazing. And also when you had guys like DeJuan Jones go down or Matt Jones go down, the guys who stepped in actually were serviceable and did not hurt our offense. So, I mean, Justin Fry, I think at 4 is or you guys at 3, I can't argue with that.
See, I'm gonna hold Mike accountable real quick because he was defending Kyle McCord in the spring game, but now Paris Johnson is thrown to the wolves.
I mean, because my thing is, do you really think that Ryan Day was looking to see what he could get out of his quarterback in that game, knowing that he's not having 2 quarterbacks? Like I've said before, you didn't have 2 quarterbacks competing. What's the main thing that you need to work on? Was offensive line, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, just remember that, chat. Just remember.
Man, I remember that
right there. I'm just putting it. Go ahead.
You guys convinced me to take Josh Fry off my list and put Justin Fry on there since he's actually on the staff. But I had him at 2 coming in, but the more and more I think about it, the reason why I was holding it against Tony is because some of the big recruiting misses that we've seen, we didn't get it back in last class. We missed on Bijan. So those are like 2 pretty big misses, but we did get Travion, we did get Mayan, and you look at the way the backfield is settled now, and that room is loaded. Whether he's hitting on the 5 stars or not, 1 through 5, we have 5 beyond capable Big Ten running backs in our room, and I mean, I think that's something to say if you're not hitting on the top guys to still have a room with that much depth, especially with the injuries that we saw last year. So I think you guys might have talked me into Tony at 2 and Justin at 3. Do you guys have anything extra you want to add on Tony? You guys all consensus Tony at 2 right now?
I mean, yeah, Tony's my guy, man. What Tony was able to do with guys who weren't as highly rated, like Dallin Hayden, for him to take that true freshman and have him ready. Let's not just talk about that, but how many true freshmen has Tony Alford in his tenure actually have had them ready when whoever was supposed to be the starter or the backup, like, and that freshman goes off? I want to say like the only problem or issue that I've ever had with Tony was maybe the Master Teague thing, but I can't see any other issue. And then, you talk about recruiting, you miss out on the Bijan and things like that or whatever. But look what he followed it up with. Yeah, we missed out, and then he followed up with an Evan Pryor, Travion Henderson. So, shout out to Tony, man. I think he's very underrated by Ohio State fans because I see them on Twitter and on social media going after him, and I don't think he gets enough credit that he should.
You guys have anything else to add on Tony?
Not really. I'll just second Mike. He has a running back ready to play. He is a pro every year, and obviously he doesn't get the guys we always want, but he gets guys at least probably every other year or so. So he brings talent in. Can't complain.
Cam?
I like Tony Alford. I mean, I guess we have had a few misses at running back on a recruiting trail, but I mean, he landed Dallin Hayden, who I think is going to be the cornerstone of the program. So
that's a take there.
Dallin Hayden's RB1, so let's
according to you and Jay Book,
4 elite running backs and Chip.
So before we switch over to the defensive side of the ball, we have the newest coach on the offensive side of the ball, Coach Key. Where did you guys have him ranked?
He hasn't done anything. We don't know.
Do you want to know where I have Coach out of the 10 assistants? I have Coach Key ranked 9th. I understand what he has done in the grad assistant role, but his grad assistant role was more toward wide receivers, and you heard the wide receiver recruits and everybody praising Coach Key. He's in a different position now at tight end, so now this is a whole new reevaluation. I think he's obviously, now that he's on the road, I'm hearing things about what he's doing on the recruiting trail, but I also need to see how is the tight end room going to develop under him. So I had to put him at 9 because there's not really much to go on with him as a full-time assistant.
Yeah, pretty much same. I mean, he's got a lot of potential. We just got to see it first before we start giving credit.
Exactly.
I put him at 5. We've heard the way that recruits have talked about him and how great he is on the trail. The fact that, he's coming out here telling us that he thinks our tight end position should be a receiver that blocks. I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, I like the changes he's already bringing. I like the reputation he already has on the trail. I am significantly higher on Coach Key than the rest of you guys. I know we haven't seen a lot, but I have Coach Key pretty high.
So do you have him 5 in? Because I know Mike mentioned he had the total staff ranking, which I don't have. I just did.
I have 1 through 10 for the assistants.
Yeah, I have
him
1 through
at 10. I mean, I have him at 5.
Well, okay. I would be more with Mike. All right, let's.
What about you, Cam? Where's Coach Key ranked for you?
I guess I'll go with 9. I mean, he doesn't. We haven't seen him coach. Like, I mean, him and Hartline, like, they gotta go be at the bottom right now because Hartline ain't called a play. So, like, as far as then Cam added in the recruiting and stuff like that. So, I didn't really think about that. I thought I'm kind of torn between how good of a recruiter are they and what do they actually do on the field, as far as the position group. But
overall body of work.
Yeah, so I haven't really seen anything, but I from what I'm hearing, he's a great recruiter. He's a great talent evaluator. Jelani Thurman is going to be an MFer this year in Columbus as a true freshman. So let's see. I'm excited, but I really can't put him up there because I haven't seen him do anything. So that's where I'm at.
I forgot a coach.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Corey Dennis. Where do you guys rank him?
Yeah, I forgot Corey Dennis too.
I did not forget Corey.
I double looked at my
either.
List and I'm like, I have Coach Key on here at 5 and 9. Who am I missing? And I'm like,
coach. I swear
Corey
have 9.
I did not. And maybe I could be falling because I've heard people talk about this. I rank Corey Dennis at 8, and it's just, to me, he's in the shadow of Ryan Day. And the quarterback position, when you think about it, you don't think about nobody else but Ryan Day. Not to say I don't know what goes on in the Woody that Corey Dennis is doing or anything like that. When I think about QBs in that room, I think about Ryan Day. When you hear about players talking about coming here, they talk about Ryan Day. You know what I'm saying? So, I got Corey Dennis at 8.
I had Corey Dennis at 9 on my list, and it's just, I'm a big fan of the Dan Le Batard show, and Stu Gotts is always on. Do it in the playoffs. Do it in the championships. Do it again. I want to see you do it without Ryan Day. Ryan Day is one of the best quarterback coaches that we've seen in college football and developers of quarterbacks. I want to see what Corey Dennis does without Ryan Day bringing in the quarterbacks, without Ohio State's pedigree. And when he brings in these kids, if he did it somewhere else other than Ohio State, I wanted to see if he could produce a first rounder. So just kind of like how it was with Coach Key. Let me see you do something, or what have you done for me lately? I want to see you do it on your own.
Corey played wide receiver in college, didn't he?
I think he used to work with wide receivers. I will not hold Ryan Day against Corey Dennis. So if I had to actually put him in this list of his assistants, then he would be right behind Alfred because he gets his guys year in, year out. Regardless if something happens or not, you lose Dylan, you go get Air? Like what are we talking about here?
Wait a second.
Hold
And
on.
Wait.
and
No,
this
no,
guy,
no, 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 no,
hold
no,
on.
no, no. You're not. No, you don't get to continue. No. We're not
I'm
getting past
because
that.
we got to
'Cause
correct you.
you're
How
gonna
did
try to
we end
get
up
that
with
off,
Lincoln
and we're not.
Keynotes?
No, you had Tony Alford at 2 on your list, so you're telling me you have Corey Dennis as the 3rd most valuable coach on staff at Ohio State right now.
what knock do you have against Corey Dennis?
I got it.
If you take Ryan Day out of the discussion,
bro, this is crazy.
bro, what knock can you have? No bad QB. This is an unarguable fact that I'm stating right here.
An unarguable fact. We can argue it.
This is my
Hold
fast
on.
and
Why?
furious point.
Quick
You
question:
can't
why did
criticize
Corey
those
Dennis
movies.
end up with
You
Lincoln
cannot
King hopes?
criticize Corey Dennis
Let me know why he ended up with Lincoln King hopes.
because he went and got him. What do you mean?
Who did he miss on to get Lincoln King hopes?
First of all, they were skipping a year with the quarterback. We all know. And they were like, we're going to get this Florida State guy. And then Corey Dennis said, nah, that ain't good enough. Let me go and get the West Dakota Heisman. Went out there. What did Lincoln Kingho say? Corey Dennis said, come in, compete. And I said, heck, even if Ryan Day wasn't there, I was going to play for Corey Dennis.
I'm not hearing none of that,
Wow,
but I'm glad you got that off.
That's what I heard. So if that's the case, I'm putting him ahead of Fry.
Did Corey Dennis even get a raise?
Yeah, he did.
They're giving
He's
those
uncriticizable. What are you criticizing?
Bro,
He's
hold on. You ranked a coach that's getting paid $412,000.
That's even better.
Look at the value per dollar, bro. Mike.
See,
Mike,
I didn't even.
hey.
Hey, Mike, I didn't even do the math on that. He was talking about value picks here, I guess.
Bruh. Mike, would you
Each
rather
his
pay
own.
Ron $1.50 and get $1 worth of work, or would you rather pay me $1 and get $2 worth of work? Which one would we picking here?
Bro, man. Come on, Ron.
Man, on to the defense. We're going to start with the defensive line, man. This guy has heard all the criticism, and after, I would say, a disastrous recruiting cycle last year, where do you guys have the legend, Larry Johnson?
I would like to go on this one. I got Larry Johnson at 4, and I know a lot of people want to criticize Larry Johnson. It was like, oh, we missed on these recruits or whatever. But, the last class we missed on because our bag wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? Then you saw certain issues. Like, you got all of these guys coming to the Team Up North game, and then I don't think it was Larry Johnson's fault. I think it was Jim Knowles' fault, and they get blurred. Guys leaving at halftime and stuff like that. I think Larry Johnson is amazing, man. What he has done with guys is amazing. Now, also, we talked about how he was getting these little defensive tackles and stuff. We saw him. He's elevating. He went and got a Mike Hall, went and got a Tyleek Williams, went and got a K. McDonald. Like, he going and getting a Hero Canoe. We are seeing Larry Johnson, even though he's getting up there in age, he's still learning and still evaluating. So, and how can, to be honest, on the defensive side of the ball, he's the only guy still getting people drafted. So,
yeah, that is a point there. I am a Larry Johnson apologist. I try to defend him at all times, but I also do understand the criticism. Some of my criticisms are a little bit different. Mike touched on last recruiting cycle being disastrous, but a lot of that did have to do with funding. Those edge players were getting paid a bag last year, and a bag we did not have. So I'm excited to see what Larry does with a bag this year. He's proven himself time and time out. We did have Jack Sawyer and JTT in the same class. We had Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson. So, Larry's proven an ability to do it. I hope that it turns into, the stats on the field. So, hopefully we can see some of those high-ranked guys get it done. But for the most part, I'm a Larry apologist. I have Larry at 4, and in probably years past, he'd be higher than that. But a little bit of recruiting dip last year. We'd like to see more guys in the draft, hoping to see more this year. So I still have Larry at 4. How about you, Q?
I will put Larry at 6. I rewrote my staff to make sure it reflect all 10 coaches. I would put him at 6. I am not so worried about the recruiting aspect because yeah, he didn't have money to go compete last year, and usually he's brought in good classes and kind of been the stronghold of the defense when it comes to recruiting. But but it is still true that what he did last year with the interior defensive line is a fireable offense. It is still you telling me you played two undrafted guys who are working at Subway right now in front of two potentially first round picks?
Come on, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Coming to Ohio State is an excellent opportunity to earn on and off the field. And if you come to Ohio State and do not perform, you will use that great Ohio State degree to be successful.
All right.
Hold on. In his defense, the reason why
Former
he
Buckeyes do not work.
Bro,
the reason he did not play Michael Hall because Ryan Day does not allow us to know about injuries, and we had no idea that Michael Hall was only freaking working with one arm last year, and that is not good in the trenches.
If you suit up, put him. If he suits up, put him in the game. I don't care. Yeah, I will take that back. They're probably working at JP Morgan or something like that, not at Subway. But
like Wednesdays, they have us.
That is crazy.
Bottom line, that is a fireable
That
offense.
is crazy. You hold injuries against this man. That's crazy.
Maybe 3 to 6 just based off of that. If he does that again, he's got to go.
So, Cam, where do you have LJ ranked?
I don't know. Maybe, like Stu said in the comments, like he's got the history and track record and all that. But if we're going off right now, like what Q said, that rotation was absolutely disgusting last year. Putting Jerron Cage and Teron Vincent in any type of clutch time situation is definitely a fireable offense. I think Larry's kind of fell off a little bit. I don't know. I'm gonna put him like 6, 5, 6, somewhere around that range. I don't know. I just we have 5 stars.
Wait to see who you got above him.
I mean,
we're moving on.
He the only one on the defensive side of the ball putting guys in the draft, even though like y'all want him to be doing all this, and he ain't even had no defensive coordinator to work with too. That's crazy. Y'all hold a lot against Larry,
but if you hold on, Mike.
Y'all hold a lot against Larry. Injuries and crappy DCs against Larry, bro. That's crazy.
I mean, are we blaming? So you think that Larry is a hindrance? You think that Jim Knowles is a hindrance to Larry, or Larry's a hindrance to Jim Knowles?
I mean, because my thing is one thing that because I was saying the exact same thing you guys were saying, right? About why is Jerron Cage in there and Teron Vincent. But one thing I didn't know until they did the interviews with the coaches in the spring and the players was that Mike Hall was only working with one arm. I mean, Cam, you've played in the trenches. You should be out there in clutch situations with one arm.
Yeah, that's on the freaking the health staff. They get an F for me for what they be doing, but let's.
I just think we hold stuff against Larry, bro. That's just crazy, man. Like I said, bro. Name another defensive coach that has been consistent. He's the only one that's able to still be retained on the staff, bro.
I mean, you got to look at Zach Harrison and put that on Uncle Larry's list as like a complete failure. Like he didn't have any pass rush moves. He don't got any type of bag or anything. None of our edge rushers have any type of bag. I ain't seen a double hand swipe. I ain't seen a fucking stab and dip. I ain't seen none of that in Columbus. And the only time we saw that was from the Bosa's, who's obviously training offline with somebody else. But our pass rush is leaving a lot to be desired as far as like the type of moves that we use and stuff like that.
This dude took a lacrosse player and made him an NFL player who got a second contract. He took a Jalen Holmes. He took
Jalen Holmes was a top talent, bro. It's not like Jalen Holmes.
Okay,
right, bro. He just dropped it like he was a scrub. Like he
Taekwon Lewis.
Like, come on, bro.
Taekwon Lewis.
So also shout out to Stu for the sculptures.
I mean, I just think we holding a lot against him, bro.
Yeah, I put him at 6. He ain't at 9. Keep it rolling, Ron.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling with the defensive. Let's keep it rolling with the defense. So we'll keep it with the front 7. I mean, he's the defensive coordinator, but he's also / linebackers coach. So Jim Knowles, where do you have him Knowles ranked? I'll start with you, Q.
Yeah, I'll go first. Himmy Knowles. I actually put Jim Knowles at 5. Yeah, I put him at 5. So obviously for 2 reasons. His unit performed spectacularly last year. As far as much as their talent would take them, that's where they were, and it was such a craze that Ron was talking about. Tommy's going to win the Heisman. Comparing that to what he was doing last year, where he might have became a walk on. Jim Knowles went crazy and did a crazy amount of work to get him there. But I do have to hold Jim Knowles accountable for those. If it wasn't for the Michigan and Georgia debacle, basically Jim Knowles would be probably, you argue, almost for like probably 2 on this list, pushing for 1 if it wasn't for those 2. But you got to hold those accountable. His position group did play well, but some of those calls at the end would put him at probably mid-tier on this list. But I have a lot of hope for Jim Knowles, so I think he will.
Where you say you have him ranked?
I put him at 5, so he's right behind Justin Fry.
I got to jump in there, Q. I have this man at 8 because
what,
bro? You could argue that you could pin.
I will.
I have him at 8. Look, we lost out on a white linebacker in fucking Louisiana that has a sandwich in his hometown named after Jim Knowles. He spent so much goddamn time down there. We did not land him. Our linebacker recruiting is right now. And 2 of our losses, I mean, Jim Knowles' feet need held to the fire in both of them. For, as our boy Seaball likes to say, he calls our defense like a nigga shooting dice in Dayton. Like, we need to dial it back just a little bit. And it's just for now, because I think Jim Knowles was a great hire, and I think it's going to work out. But, I mean, between the recruiting and, you know what I mean, some of the play calls, 8 for now. Like, we need to see more. And if you're the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, we have to have more out of you.
I will argue back. We don't pay Jim Knowles $2 million to recruit. Like, yeah, that comes with part of it, but he had to go fix that trash ass defense we had before, and that was far more important than like all those other assistants who were getting paid $500,000 to pull nobody. They could go get me a linebacker. Hell, I needed him to fix that sorry ass defense,
bro. They got a sandwich named after this man, and we don't have him.
Everybody always talks about how he's gambling on defense and shit like that. Like, if you watch the games, like every single blitz, 9 times out of 10 that he call hit. It's just that we don't have a fucking soul in the secondary that can hold their water. For like for instance, like against Georgia, like when every blitz that he called on that last drive absolutely hit. Tyleek Williams got home. Tommy Eichenberg got home. Tanner McAllister didn't reroute. He didn't have the hips. I'm losing his name, but Lathan Ransom just in the open field, just getting absolutely like smoked. Like every single blitz that he called, that he dialed up, especially against Michigan.
But what level of accountability do you have to have for understanding your staff? I mean, I could put a race car driver in my car, but if he's racing against a Scat Pack, he's going to fucking lose. Like, you have to at some point understand that Lathan Ransom in the slot covering, you know what I mean, the fastest player on Georgia's team ain't going to fucking work.
I mean, like, what is he supposed to do? Like, so against Michigan, like, I mean, he's still a coach, you know what I mean? Like, he still has his scheme. He still has the way that he wants to play, and he's at Ohio State, and he's calling a double A gap blitz that's absolutely hitting home, and J.J. McCarthy panics and throws an out route. But we have an undrafted free agent out there just not understanding football by any means and gives up an 80-yard out route. Like, everything that he called is designed to happen. It's just niggas are trash. So it's
I will say too.
I got Jim Knowles at 5 on here, man, and Cam hit on a lot, bro. But from where our defense was to where he brought it, he doesn't deserve to be at 8. From where our linebacker development has been at.
I mean, he inherited the Hall of Famer.
Years. Hold on. Where our linebacker development has been all these years to where it is now, I'm picking Jim Knowles, bruh.
I mean,
We
see,
ain't
I give
had
that
no
credit to
linebacker
Tommy
development
Eichenberg.
since Luke Fickle left, bro. And like
Tommy
you said,
Heisenberg.
bro, we've talked
Tommy
about.
Heismanberg.
Hold on, we've talked about Jim Knowles, or we've talked about our D
You about to
line.
run with that? He's about to run with that, bro.
I might have to get that on a T-shirt, Tommy Heismanberg.
My bad, Mike. I even cut you off.
All right, we've talked about how many times our D line guys was just a half a second late from getting to the sack. Not even a full second, just a half a second. But when's the last time we had a DB that could even cover for that extra half a second? We haven't. Like Cam said, the schemes and everything was good. Like I said, I fought Jim Knowles for not like I understand why he didn't watch the 2021 film. It was unfair to the players because that was a crappy defense. The coaching staff didn't know what they were doing. Obviously, the players weren't going to know what they were doing, right? So he did not want to hold that against them. So you don't know Cam Brown, or you don't know a Lathan Ransom can't flip his hips. You don't know that. You didn't get to see Lathan Ransom all spring or summer or fall conditioning because he had just broke his leg. He been getting mental reps. So he also missed a whole. So that means Lathan Ransom missed spring, summer, and majority of fall on development.
Yeah, I will add too that those safeties probably put money on against them because them dudes look like All-Americans for like the first 8 games of the season. So Jim Knowles was probably like, okay, I can rely on this safety group, and then got to the Michigan.
Hold on, we got to fry him for one take. Q. He did say that he came in and didn't watch film from the year before, so that he probably would have known that Cam Brown and them was a garbanzo if he would have did that. So. Yeah.
All right, so we just hit on the secondary a little bit. Where would you grade our corners coach Tim Walton?
I'll be quick so I can jump in and out. I did think the corners got better as the season went on. Honestly, I felt pretty negative on Tim probably early in the season. The corners did get better. He didn't fall apart in recruiting, and I feel like he pulled in some good guys. So I'm willing to give him a little rope. But I still do have him behind Perry. So I would put him at, I guess, probably 9. Or I guess it would be 8. It'd be 8. It'd be 8, not 9. Sorry.
What about you, Mike?
I got Tim Walton at 7. Behind Perry, bro. For Ohio State to have wide receivers who just are ranked in the hundreds to have cornerbacks that's ranked in the hundreds on covering wide receivers is atrocious. I don't even think we had that under Kerry Combs, bro. Like I said, he didn't have the Jimmies and Joes. There were guys hurt, but that was egregious. Is he making up for it on the recruiting trail? Absolutely. That's why he's not lower on my list. But that's why I like to have Perry higher. I got Perry higher than him because we were one of the top teams in shutting down tight ends and running back.
Cam, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Perry Eliano.
We're talking about Tim Walton.
Where you rank?
I'm about to throw them both together because both secondary coaches. I got Perry Eliano above Tim Walton as far as performance right now. But they're both like whatever. Like I really like like we didn't have guys last year, so we'll see what happens. I don't like the technique that I saw out of my corners. They can't look back and see the ball, but also it just might not have the ability to do so. So it's like, where do we judge them? Like I don't know. It's just like
the number one corner that went undrafted on our team had one of the most unathletic. What is that? Rise scores or whatever that they do
all time.
It was ranked terrible.
He was ranked 1,200.
So I actually have the opposite. I have Tim ahead of Perry. We talk about BIA a lot, and I know a lot of you guys didn't factor recruiting into these rankings, but Calvin Sampson-Hunt and Jermaine Matthews, I think, are two of my favorite signings in last year's class. I think they're going to be a huge step into bringing BIA back. And then as far as safety play, Perry Eliano was the person who chose to put Cam Martinez and Tanner McAllister on the field last year. So you will fall in my rankings just for those sins alone. Q and Mike, tell us where you have Perry before we get on out of here, because there's one coach that needs fired before we wrap this show up. So where do you guys have Perry ranked? You have Perry at 6. How about you, Q?
Yeah, Perry's at 7, right behind MJ or LJ, not MJ, right above Tim. I still think he's coaching the wrong position. I would much rather have seen him at corners. And I said at first, there's probably one change I would make to the staff, and that would be Tim Walton out and bringing in a lead safeties coach like a Jeff Hafley. So that would be probably the one change I would make. And of course, get to your last one. So
one quick person that's not on the staff that I want to get you guys on a quick letter grade for Coach Mick at his current point in his career at Ohio State. Just a letter grade. How about you, Mike?
Man, I give. I know Coach Mick got a lot of criticism for the past couple of years, man. But after listening to his explanation of it and things like that, I'm gonna give him an A.
Wait, can you fill me in on this explanation?
On his explanation, during the 2020 season, he talked about how he wasn't able to get his hands on guys. And even going into 2021, because of the restrictions in Ohio, still wasn't able to get those guys. And I mean, because our biggest issue was in 2020 and 2021 was why are our guys getting pushed and manhandled and things like that. But I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with what Coach Mick is doing. I think like when we see these guys' body transformations, he get them guys right, and he does it within a short amount of time. I mean, to see where Sonny Styles was when he first got on campus to where he was within a year was just crazy to me.
I would say C. I'll put him at average. My thing is, and I mean, obviously, it's great on Ohio State standard of who we should have in strength and conditioning. It's just Coach Mick does stuff well. He gets guys built up well, but athleticism isn't really built on lifting weights. Like there's so much more you can do now to train athletes, and I just don't feel like Ohio State puts the resources towards that because it doesn't seem like they use anything that's new in technology. But I'm not gonna hold it all on Coach Mick, but I would give him a C.
Cam.
I'll give him a C plus.
I give him a B plus. I mean, we've seen transformations like Mayan Williams and Dallin Hayden have both transformed their bodies tremendously since they've got to Ohio State. We also see our defensive linemen look like they're allergic to triceps. So I don't know what's happening there. So, I mean, you see some guys that are fucking ripped to the core. You see other guys that have zero definition in their arms and played defensive line with long sleeves on. So that's fucking infuriating. The last coach on the staff we have is Parker Fleming, everyone's favorite coach. I knew we had a consensus at 1. I would imagine we all had a consensus at 10. Give me your guys' quick thoughts on Parker Fleming before we get out of here, and hopefully he gets out of here just as quickly as we do.
I mean, Mike, it's time for him to be gone. I mean, I'd rather have James Laurinaitis. I mean, what does he do in recruiting? All I hear about, he works with DBs. He does. You have to have a special teams coordinator and all of this stuff. He has to be a smart guy. I don't see nothing smart. I mean, our special teams have just continued to go downhill since he's been a special teams coordinator. No punt returns. This dude put a walk-on back there to fumble a return. I mean, there's nothing good to say about this. And then the fact that I saw that he got a raise, bro, that's scary, bro.
What about you, Q?
Yeah, I won't give him an F. I'll probably give him a G or a H. So, yeah, he's just you gotta be better, my guy. There's too much talent here just to not get any returns or anything. But that's all I got.
What about you, Cam?
Garbage.
All righty, and I think that pretty much.
Hold on, Ron.
James Laurinaitis and Joe Philbin.
The two new staff members.
Oh, yeah, we have 2 new staff members. We didn't have them a part of our rankings, but we do want to give these hires a grade. We have Joe Philbin as an offensive analyst added to the staff, and we have James Laurinaitis added to the staff. How would you guys grade those hires sight unseen so far?
I think the hire of
go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Q.
Okay. Just real quick. I mean, from what I hear, I don't know anything about Philbin, but from what I've hear, it's an A hire. So I will follow the train on that one. And Laurinaitis should have been here a couple years ago as an A hire. He's going to bring energy. Should be the linebacker coach and move Jim Knowles so he doesn't have to worry about it. Yeah, I'm all on board.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I got James Laurinaitis has an A hire. I think he can come in, help with that where Jim Knowles lacks in recruiting as well. And then also, if I'll tell you this, if he shows me that Steel Chambers can shed a block, oh my God, bro. Like, dude need to be like pay and on staff.
Bro, he's not a miracle worker, bro.
Second tree in Buckeye Grove.
He said, hey, Cam said that's going to take a barrel. And then Joe Philbin, I think that's an A-plus hire with what Stud left us in the room. You got another guy who can bring in that NFL experience and who has worked with lower-level guys. And you had Jack Newhart came out, talked highly about him. And then you're bringing continuity into the staff as well with Brian Hartline. This will help him be able to teach Brian Hartline and take a little bit of worry off of Ryan Day and off of Justin Fry as well.
Cam, what about you?
I agree 100% with what Mike said. So
he
took it right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I give them both. I give those two both A+ hires. I think Laurinaitis brings back the Buckeye culture that we need. I always love seeing former players on the staff. I give Philbin an A+ hire. It shows an investment in Brian Hartline and developing him as a play caller. I think having a familiar face for him in the building is just another aid in his development. But we appreciate everyone pulling up for this episode of Buckeye BS on a Memorial Day weekend. I know Cam's itching to get to the race and be with his people at the Indy 500. Big Hat and Chris Drew are going to be there, drunk like sorority girls. I hope they're all. I know Mike, he's going to be chefing it up on the grill. He is a fucking grill master. And I know Q, he's going to be out in these streets because that's what he does. So
he's going to be drinking. He's going to be drinking a latte.
Cut this out the show.
No, Q's going shopping. Let's be real. That's exactly what Q goes.
But real quick before we get out of here, go ahead and let everybody know where we can find y'all. Go ahead, Mike.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at 216wildboy. Hit me up.
Cam.
You can find me at I Know Things 19. Packing up Wolverines on the time daily on Twitter.
That's it. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, CityBoy Quentin. Also, one thing I want to add: can we get Malcolm Jenkins on this staff? That's just another additional hire. I want to throw that in there. Get him in.
Does he want to come though?
I'm waiting for him to come back. But yeah, CityBoy Quentin on Twitter, Fly to Jobs on Instagram, and Minor League Films. If you mess with movies on YouTube, Ron.
You can find me on Twitter at 2_TES, 2 T's. You can find me on Twitch at 2 T's. You can find me on TikTok at 2 Shiesties. And you can find us on pretty much every platform at Best Damn Media, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. We got our boy Harry dropping videos on the Best Damn Media Twitter account. So if you want to see some heat, make sure you're following that account. And we appreciate you guys showing up. We had a little bit of a delay in the show today for the holiday weekend, but we hope everyone has a safe holiday. And we appreciate you guys tuning in to Buckeye BS this week. Thank you guys.
Shout out Sue. Shout out J Bags. Shout out
shout out everybody in the comments.
Cam's heavy on the no disrespect to Indiana. This boy is in the trenches right now.